How's it going, YouTube? Atheist Chef here. Now, I was watching a video with Matthew Steele, and he's an atheist. And I'm going to link his channel down below. He doesn't really have too many videos, but he's part of, well, he was part of Skeptic Fence Show, and I guess he's now with the new conglomerate. Sorry, I've been playing PlanetSide 2, New Covenant group. Anyway, so he was in a chat or a hangout with like 5 or 6 pre-subs. Matthew 419, Bible thumping wingnut, and a couple of other people that I don't really know. About an hour and a half long video. Matthew Steele is fantastic about. I wouldn't call him the middleman, I guess. They respect Matthew a lot, and he really gets, you can get in a chat with him, and if you watch a pre-sup, or these pre-sups and Matthew in a chat, they can discuss, and it doesn't feel like I'm watching. There's no condescension, there's no snide remarks, it doesn't sound like anything. It sounds like, well, I don't want to call it a discussion, and here's why. They literally spent the entire time, the first hour, kissing each other's ass. And I'm saying this with as most respect as possible to Matthew Steele and the others, because they're trying so hard to have a nice dialogue and a nice discussion, that there was no arguments being presented. It was, they would say something, they would make a claim, and then and Matthew would just kind of let it go. And you could almost see it that the better part of him wanted to reply, but he wouldn't. And then Matthew would say something, and they I guess you could watch them biting their tongues, and they wanted to say something, but they wouldn't, because they were perpetuating this cycle of friendly discussion that they weren't getting anything done. I am all about discussion. I am all about open, honest debate and an exchange of ideas, and it's the only way that we should need to do this. But when you're focusing so hard on keeping it so friendly and so ass-kissery or ass-kissing, then we're not getting anywhere. So many times, some kid, or I say some kid, it was a guy, he was just, preaching. He's like, have you ever heard what Jesus did? And every atheist watching this is going to be like, fuck, yes, you're right, I've never heard of Jesus. And he asked, did you ever get to understand the gravity of what's going on? And you're like, yeah, I get the point. Particularly anybody that was a former believer like myself. Now, and then he just goes on and he preaches and he just talks about, and he sacrificed himself, and he took on our sin, and he suffered miserably, and like 19 different arguments came to my head, and Matt was being nice and not talking about it and just allowing him to preach. And that was all for the sake of, respect and trying not to be a rabble-rouser and cause difficulties or causing strain when apparently, the night had been going so well and everybody was all nice and peachy with each other and respectful and, oh, I like you, man, I love you too, man, I love you. Pretty soon they were going to start making out, Well, probably not, because they have the whole thing against homosexuals, but it disappointed me, because I know that Matt wanted to say some things. I know it. But he didn't. To me, it seemed like the closest thing that came to a discussion was while they were, kind of toward the beginning / middle, where they were actually talking about presuppositionalism and how it's evolved and how it's changed. And Bible Thumping Wingnut, pointed out something, is that, it just seems like that atheists are jumping onto the expression, because originally how it used to be was when somebody was asked, can you be wrong about everything that you know? Any atheist, or most atheists, when they first were introduced to this, said, yeah, I could be wrong about everything I know. I admit that I could be wrong. But how it is now is the atheists know better and say no, because we can know certain things. You can argue with the primacy of existence. I know that I exist. We can know that there are axiomatic truths. We can know certain things that are true regardless of what may come out in the future. We know that there can't be a square circle. We know they can, married bachelor, and stuff like that. We can know things. But so Matthew, Bible Thumping Wingnut, says to the effect of, well, now it just seems like, the atheists' argument have changed, not because they're learning, because they're looking for a discussion. They're just, basically repeating off a script. And then Matthew Steele pretty much straight up agreed with them. And it threw me back. So, well, obviously, no. That's, to me, I have to say no. That's not how it is. I mean, let's just sit back and think about this for a second. If you're like me, we don't know anything about epistemology. That is it's a pretty high up there. You can't just kind of like knock it out over a weekend. I mean, I had Ozymandias Ramsey II, or the second, or Ozzy, teaching me about it, and presuppositionalism. And I'm going to link his channel below, because if there is anybody that you need to know that knows presuppositionalism and between the true presup and then the Psi 10 Brudenkate type of presup, that's Ozzy. This guy's done a lot of videos about it. He's like the wise old sage when it comes to this, and highly recommend you go look at his channel if you're interested in anything with presup. This guy knows what he's doing. And so he was, he and others like him, that know these things, they went around and taught us these things. They taught us that, hey, we can know things. And so when you have a field such as epistemology, where we're not used to that kind of thing, we're not used to, with the very concept, if you can go up to a Christian or anybody and say, can you be wrong about everything you think you know, or everything you know, a lot of people are going to say, well, yeah, I guess it makes sense. Yeah, I could be wrong about everything I know. We don't have that kind of grasp on epistemology. And anytime somebody throws out new information, you'll watch Ozzy's video and you're going to learn like 17 things almost immediately, because you're going to be pretty convinced by what he says. When I first learned that, according to, that knowledge, according to many epistemological processes, is considered justified true belief. And I was like, well, I never thought about that, but it makes sense. I was like, okay, so these people justifying true belief is knowledge. It's not like you're going to experience any sort of cognitive dissonance as if it's going to stay apart, really, or it's going to stand in contrast with what you understand. It's something new. It's kind of like when we were first told that, or if somebody were to ask you, hey, is it, could you be wrong about the, let me put it this way, is it true that the moon stays just as equidistant all the way during its orbit around the Earth? Well, it makes sense. It doesn't seem like it gets that further apart, that's further apart. And then somebody can come along and say, no, well, actually it changes. It actually gets, closer at one point and further at another. It's never equidistant. And there's points where the Earth is actually kind of wobbling a little bit closer, and the Earth, there's this whole wobbling effect going between the Earth and the moon. And you go, okay, that actually makes sense too. And you start putting it together. when there's no cognitive dissonance, you learn things pretty damn quickly. And so to say that it's, atheists just, walking along like, hey, what's the new argument for presuppositionalism today? Yes, it's possible that there are some atheists that are that way. I don't deny that. There's somebody that may just be learning and wanting to learn the best arguments to be caught up. But of course, the same thing can be said about any presuppers too. I mean, presup has been changing, and there's certain key phrases and words that you can tell when somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about says, and somebody who does, what they'll say. And so it's, it's quite obvious that both sides are just as equally likely to just learn the new phrase and make sure you understand that phrase, because, that's just how it works. But, Matthew never called it out, and I had to think that he had to have thought that far. But he completely said, oh, I completely agree. And I said it was just that, to me, again, this is not an attempt on, to assassinate Matthew's character. It just seems like he was trying so hard to be friendly with them that he was pulling his punches for the sake of, I guess you would say, trying to build a rapport that when they get into deeper discussions that they're not going to see him as such a, I don't know, they're not going to, I don't know, that he thinks he may change their mind, or it may change him that maybe he's really is an atheist and he really is trying. So, when he comes to us with questions, maybe we will, respect it more. I don't know. And, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Not because I think what Matthew is doing wrong or anything, but I think it's for naught. I've seen the discussions with them, and they talk about, I don't even know if we should, this is Matthew 4:19 saying, I don't even think we should call these people atheists, so we shouldn't even allow them to have that title. I feel like when they're in a discussion with Matt, that they're pulling their punches too. And when everybody's pulling their punches, we're really not getting any closer to solving anything. At least that's how I feel. When it comes down to it, when you get to the nitty-gritty on the certain aspects of Christianity and presupposition, or presuppositionalism, it gets to the point when it comes to explaining the contradictions, and it comes to explaining how to validate their claims. They really just come with, I don't know. Or they come out with something, for example, they talked about salvation, and Matthew had pointed out and said, or maybe somebody else was pointing out, but said, it seemed like there should be some kind of experience. There's many Christians that get that, boom, it seems like God just came in and clicked. Kind of like me when I thought I was experiencing God. It seemed like, boom, it just clicked, and I was a Christian, and it was just, boom, oh my God, everything is overwhelming, and I'm loved, and I'm, I was a sinner, and God forgave me, and, and it was obvious then. But then, there's several times, like when on the day of, when I finally just said, I'm an atheist, the day before that, where I was, I was crying, I was begging, I was pleading, I was doing whatever I could, because I wanted, to believe God. I wanted to believe in Him. I wanted Him to express to me the truth that was missing, and so I could understand it, and and I wouldn't be scared. I would know this truth, and and I never got it. And then months later, when I tried it again, and then my recent DD conversion thing, I was truly trying, and I wasn't getting anything. And and of course that makes me wonder, that confirmed for me at least that it's bull. But when Matthew talked about a similar thing, he said, "Well, I'm not asking for evidence. I'm asking for that snap, that realization that you guys get, that you guys have. Why, I want that." And then I think his name is Rob. Like he's got a couple of numbers to his name. I can't think of what's his name. he just said, well, sometimes you're not going to get it. Some people get it, some people don't. And then if I would have been Matt, I would have been like, well, why? Why is that? Why? What makes God choose certain people? Why do some people have to go, 19 extra miles? And I've talked about one of my videos that said, I was told that if I just take one step, even if I was 1,000,000 miles away, God would be right there. It doesn't make sense. Why would God operate that way? And then, which is where Christians reply, like, either I don't know, or that's just how God is, or it's not about that. You're thinking about it wrong. And so, that to me, that just makes my head explode, because that's not an answer. And it's an answer that could be said about anybody. And it's used for different religions, too. It's not exactly exclusive to Christianity. And of course, that's the fact that they can't answer those things. The fact that they can just make bald assertions and justifications, and then just throw out an I don't know why God would do this, or you're just doing it wrong. It's not it's not God's fault. It's your fault. You have to give up yourself. You have to reject your very reason that you hold on to, and then trust in God and have faith in God, and on all that stuff. But it's not something that everybody else has to do, and they can't explain to you how I can do that. They just tell me to do it. It's those kind of things that need to be held to the fire. Their feet need to be held to the fire for those kind of questions. But we're not getting it. And we didn't get that tonight. All for the sake of friendliness and having a friendly discussion. So, why am I saying all this? Matt, I wish you the best with this, and I don't know if you have a plan or something, or if you're just really trying to really get on their best possible side. And I have a feeling that's what it is to be, you're trying to be honest, and you're trying to be open, and you're trying to show that malleability that you actually have in your search for answers. I just think that for those that are watching, like myself, I'm looking at, it seems like there's no real discussion going on. It's them preaching and you biting your tongue to not seem confrontational. That doesn't get us to truth. That doesn't get us to understanding. The fact is this, is they're claiming the impossibility of the contrary, that their worldview is the correct worldview. And they have no proof to back it up. I mean, even among the presuppositionalists, the true presupps, the Gregory Bonsons and whatnot, they even look at the presuppers like Psi 10 and look at them and go, no, that's not how it is. They know that they're misrepresenting the presuppositional argument. I don't think that getting chummy and really close with them is going to change much of anything. Because they're going to still stick with their beliefs until you can show them to be wrong. We've only made these jumps in presuppositionalism and showing and making them evolve and change their methods by getting into a discussion with them and holding their feet to the fire. That is the only real way you can break down any kind of argument or expose, are exposed to truth or find what's true and what's a lie. So being chummy with them will maybe lower their guard. But I don't think it's going to make a difference. It's not going to change the way that they think. It's not going to change the way that they see atheists. It's not going to change the way that they see your atheism. They may respect you more than, say, me or anybody else that they've ever encountered. But I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be jealous of Matt's way of his mastery at subterfuge and slipping in behind enemy lines. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that what Matt is doing is effective, and that being that it's getting open discussion, that maybe it'll change at least the attitude that they tend to have when they talk. I don't know. It makes sense. I get it. I guess I just don't have high hopes for it. I don't know. Because I think eventually, even if you do lower their guard, it won't be until you hold their feet to the fire that you get there. And I think regardless of how chummy you are with them now, when it comes down to it, I think they're going to fall back to the same old tricks. Well, that's it, folks. This is the Atheist Chef signing off. Peace.